The moment everything shifted, something changed. Not around you, inside you. A quiet decision, a moment of courage, a step most people never notice. Yet somehow that single moment altered the direction of your life. You may not have realized it at the time, but the moment you chose growth instead of comfort, silence instead of chaos, a truth instead of approval, everything began to move differently. The world may look the same, but the path beneath your feet is no longer the one you were walking before. A decision most people never see. There are moments in life that look small from the outside but carry enormous weight in the unseen world. When you chose patience instead of anger, when you walked away from something that was slowly destroying you, when you refused to become bitter after everything you went through, something powerful happened. That quiet decision separated you from the path most people remain trapped in. Why your choice was different. Many people face hardship, many face betrayal, many face loss, but not everyone responds the same way. Some people allow the pain to turn them cold, others allow it to break their spirit. But you did something rare. Instead of letting the darkness define you, you began searching for meaning. That search is often the first sign of someone stepping into a deeper awakening. The moment you refused to stay as you were. There came a moment when you realized you could not continue living the same way. Something inside you started questioning everything. The conversations around you felt empty. The goals everyone was chasing felt shallow. The noise of the world started to feel overwhelming. And deep down, you began to sense that you were meant to walk a different road. Why this path feels lonely. Awakening often begins with separation. Not always physical separation, but a shift in understanding. Suddenly, the things that once entertained you lose their power. The opinions that once controlled you begin to fade. And while others continue living the same patterns, you feel like you are watching the world from a completely different perspective. This is one of the most confusing stages for those who are awakening. The hidden strength within you. You survived things many people would not understand. Moments when you felt completely alone. Moments when it seemed like every door was closing. Yet somehow, you kept going. That resilience is not an accident. It is the mark of someone who carries an inner strength that cannot easily be broken. Why pressure always found you. Have you ever noticed something strange? Challenges seem to find you more often than others. Situations that tested your patience. People who misunderstood you. Circumstances that forced you to grow faster than those around you. It may have felt unfair at times, but pressure reveals strength that comfort never can. The turning point no one noticed. There was a moment when you stopped seeking approval. You stopped explaining yourself to people who never truly listened. You stopped shrinking just to make others comfortable. That quiet shift was not rebellion. It was clarity, and that clarity changed everything. The awakening of awareness. You began to see patterns, the same cycles repeating in people's lives, the same illusions everyone seemed to chase. You realized how easily people follow crowds without ever questioning where they are going. This awareness can feel heavy at first, but it also brings freedom. Why your mind started asking deeper questions. Awakened individuals often become seekers, not seekers of attention but seekers of truth. You start questioning things that others accept without thinking. Why people behave the way they do. Why suffering exists. Why some souls seem drawn toward growth while others avoid it at all costs. The silence that changed you. At some point you began spending more time in reflection. Less noise, less distraction, more awareness. And in those quiet moments you began hearing something that had always been there, your inner guidance. The voice that tells you when something feels right or deeply wrong. Why some people became uncomfortable around you. As you changed, some relationships began to shift. Not because you became arrogant or distant, but because your presence started exposing truths people were not ready to face. Growth often creates distance between those moving forward and those determined to remain the same. The strength of walking alone. There were times when it felt like you were walking this path by yourself. Friends disappeared. Conversations faded. Familiar places started feeling unfamiliar. But what feels like isolation is often preparation. It teaches you how to stand firm without constant validation. The battle within. The hardest battles rarely happen outside of you. They happen in your thoughts. Doubt whispers. Fear questions everything. You wonder if you are overthinking, if you are imagining things, if you should simply return to the comfortable life you once knew. But something inside refuses to go back. Why you could never fully return. Once awareness expands, it cannot shrink again. You cannot unknow what you have seen. You cannot ignore the truth once your heart has recognized it. That is why the old version of your life no longer fits you the way it once did. The purpose hidden in your pain. Every challenge you endured carried a lesson, not always immediately visible, but slowly revealing itself over time. Pain often becomes the teacher that shapes wisdom, and wisdom is what allows awakened individuals to guide others through darkness they once faced themselves. Why you feel called to something greater. There is a quiet pull inside you, not a loud voice, not a dramatic revelation, just a steady sense that your life carries meaning beyond ordinary routines. This feeling does not demand attention, but it never disappears. The courage to be different. Living with awareness requires courage. It means thinking for yourself even when others disagree. It means choosing integrity when shortcuts are easier. It means staying true to what you believe even when the crowd moves in the opposite direction. Why your energy changed. People notice it even if they cannot explain it. Your presence feels calmer. Your words carry more weight. You observe more and react less. This transformation does not happen overnight, but over time it becomes impossible to hide. The weight of understanding. Awareness can sometimes feel heavy. You see struggles others ignore. You recognize patterns before they fully appear. But this understanding also gives you the ability to navigate life with deeper wisdom. The moment you realized your value. You stopped measuring your worth through the approval of others. You realized that the opinions surrounding you are often shaped by fear, insecurity, or misunderstanding. True value comes from living with integrity and purpose. Why growth often requires letting go. Some chapters must close for new ones to begin. Certain relationships fade. Certain environments no longer support who you are becoming. Letting go is rarely easy, but it creates the space necessary for transformation. The strength of self-control. You learned that not every battle deserves your energy. Silence became more powerful than arguments. Patience became stronger than reaction, and discipline became the foundation of your growth. Why your journey matters. Your story may not seem extraordinary to you, but someone else is struggling through a stage you have already survived. Your experience, your lessons, and your resilience can become a light for someone still walking through darkness. The truth about being chosen. Being chosen is not about superiority. It is not about being better than anyone else. It simply means you were willing to face growth when others avoided it. You were willing to reflect when others blamed the world. The quiet power within you. Real strength does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like continuing forward even when the path feels uncertain. Why your actions changed everything. That decision you made the moment you chose growth, the moment you refused to give up, it shifted the direction of your life. It placed you on a path that leads toward deeper purpose, stronger character, and clearer understanding. The future you are building. Every choice you make now continues shaping the life ahead of you. Awareness gives you the power to move with intention rather than drifting through life without direction. The journey is still unfolding. This is not the end of your awakening. It is only the beginning. There are still lessons to discover, strength to build, and purpose to uncover as you continue walking forward. Your presence here is not an accident. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on your journey and the strength it took to reach this point. And if you believe in growth, awareness, and the power of transformation, support this mission by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to Return to Awakening so this message can reach others who are beginning to realize that their choices changed everything. The path that few understand. The moment you began changing, something unusual started happening. The path ahead no longer looked like everyone else's path. While others chased noise, approval, and distractions, you started craving clarity. You began searching for meaning in places most people never look. At first, this shift felt confusing. You wondered why the things that once entertained you suddenly felt empty. Conversations that once felt normal now felt shallow. Situations that once felt exciting began to feel draining. This is one of the earliest signs of deep inner transformation. The truth is, awakening often begins quietly. It does not arrive with applause or recognition. It begins with awareness, a slow realization that the life you once lived was only a small part of who you truly are becoming. And once that awareness appears, the path ahead begins to change forever. The weight of seeing clearly. Seeing the world differently is not always easy. When awareness expands, illusions begin to fade. You start noticing patterns that others ignore. You begin to recognize manipulation, negativity, and cycles of behavior that once seemed normal. This awareness can feel heavy at times, not because knowledge is a burden, but because clarity removes the comfort of ignorance. Once you see truth, you cannot pretend it is not there. You begin to realize that many people are moving through life unconsciously, following habits they never questioned, repeating patterns they never examined, chasing goals they never truly chose for themselves. And standing outside those patterns can sometimes feel isolating. While your silence became powerful, there was a time when you felt the need to explain yourself, to defend your thoughts, to convince people to understand your perspective. But something changed. You started realizing that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you because your growth challenges their comfort. So instead of arguing, you became quieter, not weaker, quieter, more observant, more intentional with your words. And strangely, that silence began carrying more power than any explanation ever could. The strength that grew in the shadows. While others were busy seeking attention and recognition, you were growing in places no one could see. Through struggles, through reflection, through moments when you questioned everything. Growth often happens in silence, not in front of crowds, not under bright lights, but in the quiet hours when no one is watching and you are forced to face yourself honestly. Those moments shaped you more than any public success ever could. They built resilience. They built awareness. They built strength that cannot easily be shaken. And that strength is now part of who you are. Why some doors closed unexpectedly. As your awareness expanded, certain opportunities disappeared. Certain relationships faded. Certain paths suddenly closed without explanation. At first, it may have felt like loss, like something valuable was taken from you. But over time, you began to see something important. Not every closed door is a failure. Some doors close because the path behind them no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually protection from a life that would have kept you smaller than your potential. The energy you now carry. Something about you feels different now, even if you cannot fully explain it. People notice it in subtle ways. The way you respond calmly in situations that once would have triggered you. The way you observe more than you react. Your presence has become steadier, more grounded, less dependent on outside validation. This shift is not about becoming distant from the world. It is about becoming centered within yourself. And when someone becomes centered, their energy begins influencing the environment around them. Why your awareness cannot be ignored. There was a time when you could ignore certain truths, when distractions were enough to keep deeper questions away. But now that awareness has awakened inside you, ignoring it is no longer possible. You feel it in your instincts, in the quiet moments when something inside you whispers that there is more to life than routine survival. That whisper may not always be loud, but it is persistent. It continues guiding you toward growth, clarity, and purpose. And the more you listen to it, the clearer your path becomes. The difference between awakening and escaping. Some people try to escape life's difficulties. They distract themselves with noise, comfort, and temporary relief. But awakening is different. Awakening is not about escaping reality. It is about facing it with deeper understanding. It means confronting your fears instead of running from them. It means recognizing your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. It means questioning your habits so you can transform them. This path requires courage, but it also creates a level of freedom that avoidance never can. Why your journey feels so personal. One of the most powerful parts of awakening is realizing that your path cannot be copied. No one else has experienced life through your exact perspective. No one else has walked through the same combination of challenges, lessons, and revelations that shaped your mind and heart. That is why comparison begins losing its power. Your journey is not meant to mirror someone else's success or timeline. Your journey is about becoming the strongest and most aware version of yourself. And that process is unfolding exactly as it needs to. The day you stopped ignoring your instincts. There was a time when you doubted your inner voice. You questioned your instincts. You ignored the quiet feeling that warned you when something wasn't right. But slowly, experience began to teach you something important. That inner voice was never wrong. Every time you ignored it, life pushed you back into the same lesson, the same type of situation, the same kind of people, until one day you finally stopped brushing it aside. You started listening. And that decision alone changed the direction of your life. Because the moment you began trusting your inner awareness, you stopped allowing the world to dictate every step you take. The hidden discipline within you. People often think transformation comes from sudden breakthroughs, but the truth is far less dramatic. Real transformation is built through small choices repeated every day. The choice to stay calm when anger tries to take control. The choice to remain patient when frustration grows. The choice to keep moving forward when giving up feels easier. These quiet acts of discipline slowly reshape a person from the inside out. And over time, they build a character that cannot easily be shaken by outside pressure. You may not always notice it, but that discipline is growing inside you. Why the old version of you had to end. Growth always requires the release of something old. Sometimes it is a mindset. Sometimes it is a habit. Sometimes it is a version of yourself that no longer serves your future. There was a version of you that accepted less than you deserved. A version of you that tolerated disrespect. A version of you that remained silent when you should have spoken truth. But that version could not travel the path you are now walking. It had to fade so a stronger, wiser version of you could emerge. And although that process was uncomfortable, it was necessary. The lessons hidden in your struggles. Think about the moments that challenged you the most, the situations that pushed you to your limits, the times when you felt completely overwhelmed. At the time, those moments may have felt like obstacles, but now, when you look back, you can see something else. Each struggle forced you to develop strength you didn't know you had. Each challenge sharpened your awareness. Each hardship expanded your patience and understanding. Those moments were not meant to break you, they were shaping you. Why you notice things others miss. Your awareness has become sharper. You sense tension before conflict appears. You recognize dishonesty before it fully reveals itself. You notice patterns in behavior that most people overlook. This does not mean you are suspicious of everyone. It simply means your mind has become more observant. Awakened awareness often brings this clarity. You begin to read situations more deeply. You understand energy, intention, and motive in ways that go beyond surface appearances. And this awareness helps you navigate the world with greater wisdom. The calm that surprised even you. There was a time when certain situations would immediately trigger strong reactions. Stress would overwhelm you. Conflict would drain your energy. But something began to shift. Slowly, your reactions changed. Situations that once felt chaotic began to feel manageable. You started responding instead of reacting, thinking before speaking, observing before judging. This calm did not appear overnight. It grew from the lessons you learned through experience. And now it has become one of your greatest strengths. Why some people could not stay in your life. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you forever. Some people are only present for certain chapters of your journey. As you grew, some connections naturally faded, not because you rejected anyone, but because your paths began moving in different directions. Some people prefer comfort over growth. Others avoid reflection because it forces them to face uncomfortable truths. Your journey required change, and not everyone was ready to move in that direction with you. The power of your awareness. Awareness is one of the most powerful forces a person can develop. It allows you to see possibilities others overlook. It helps you avoid mistakes you once repeated. It gives you the ability to pause, reflect, and choose your actions wisely rather than acting purely on emotion. Most people live their lives reacting to circumstances without ever stepping back to examine their patterns. But awareness breaks that cycle. And once awareness grows strong enough, it begins reshaping every area of your life. Why your journey still feels unfinished. Even after everything you have learned, there is still a sense that your story is far from complete. You feel progress, but also potential waiting to unfold. This feeling is not dissatisfaction. It is the awareness that growth never truly stops. There are still lessons ahead, still strengths waiting to be developed, still moments that will challenge you and reveal new layers of your character. And that is what makes this journey meaningful. The quiet confidence growing inside you. Confidence no longer comes from proving yourself to others. It comes from knowing who you are becoming. You have seen your own resilience. You have faced situations that once felt impossible and moved through them step by step. That experience creates a quiet form of confidence, one that does not need constant validation, one that does not rely on applause. It is simply the understanding that no matter what challenges appear next, you now have the awareness and strength to face them. The moment you realized you were not lost. For a long time, it may have felt like you were wandering without direction, like life was testing you without giving clear answers. You questioned whether all the struggle meant anything at all. But slowly, a realization began forming inside you. You were never truly lost. You were being redirected. Every confusing moment was pushing you away from paths that were never meant for you. What once looked like chaos was actually preparation. The detours, the delays, the unexpected endings, they were quietly guiding you toward something more aligned with who you are becoming. And once you began seeing it that way, your entire perspective started to change. Why your mind no longer accepts illusions. There was a time when surface-level explanations were enough. Simple answers satisfied your curiosity, but that stage has passed. Now your mind searches deeper. You question motives, patterns, and systems. You look beyond appearances and try to understand what lies beneath them. This shift can make the world feel different. You start noticing how easily people accept things without reflection, how quickly crowds follow trends without understanding their direction. But awareness removes the comfort of blind acceptance. Once your mind begins seeking truth, it cannot return to comfortable illusions. The strength you built through patience. Patience is one of the most underestimated strengths a person can develop. In a world obsessed with speed and instant results, patience often looks like weakness to those who do not understand it. But patience is not passive. It is controlled strength. It is the ability to remain steady while circumstances unfold. It is the discipline to wait for clarity instead of rushing into mistakes. You have developed this patience through experience, through moments when you had no choice but to endure uncertainty and trust that time would reveal the answers. And that patience has become part of your foundation. Why you became more selective with your energy. You no longer give your time and attention to everything around you, not because you believe you are better than others, but because you understand the value of your energy. You have learned that constant negativity drains the mind. Endless arguments solve nothing. Certain environments slowly weaken your focus and peace. So you began choosing carefully where your attention goes. You protect your mental space. You distance yourself from chaos whenever possible. This is not avoidance. It is awareness guiding your decisions. The quiet growth no one applauds. Some of the most important changes in your life happened quietly. No audience, no celebration, no recognition. Moments when you chose self-control instead of reacting. Moments when you forgave someone who never apologized. Moments when you walked away from something that was slowly damaging your peace. These decisions rarely receive applause, yet they represent some of the strongest victories a person can achieve. Because real growth is not about impressing others, it is about mastering yourself. Why your perspective became wider. Life has shown you many sides of reality. You have seen kindness and cruelty, loyalty and betrayal, wisdom and ignorance. These experiences expanded your perspective. You no longer see the world in simple categories of right and wrong. Instead, you understand how complex human behavior can be. This wider perspective allows you to approach life with more patience and less judgment. You observe more. You react less. And that deeper understanding gives you a level of emotional strength many people never develop. The courage to walk your own direction. There comes a moment in every awakening journey when you realize something important. You cannot live your life according to everyone else's expectations. Trying to satisfy every opinion leads to confusion. Trying to follow every trend leads to emptiness. True clarity appears when you decide to live with intention rather than approval. When you follow principles that align with your values instead of chasing constant validation. That courage to walk your own direction is what separates those who awaken from those who remain trapped in the noise of the crowd. Why the world tests those who are changing. Growth often attracts resistance, not because the world is against you, but because transformation challenges the patterns around you. When someone begins thinking differently, acting differently, and seeing the world differently, it disrupts the comfort of those who prefer things to remain the same. This is why awakened individuals often face criticism, misunderstanding, or doubt from others. But these reactions are not signs that you are wrong. Sometimes they are signs that you are moving beyond familiar limits. The strength of your inner stability. The more you grow, the more you begin realizing that stability does not come from external circumstances. It comes from within. Situations will change. People will change. Opportunities will appear and disappear. But your inner stability becomes the anchor that keeps you grounded through every shift. This stability is built through reflection, discipline, and experience. It is not easily shaken by temporary setbacks or unexpected challenges. And once it is established, it becomes one of your greatest sources of strength. Why your journey still has more to reveal. Even with everything you have learned, there is still more unfolding ahead. more lessons, more clarity, more growth waiting to appear when the time is right. Awakening is not a single moment. It is a continuing process. Each stage reveals deeper understanding and stronger awareness. The path you are walking now is only one chapter in a much larger story, and the choices you continue making will shape the chapters still waiting to be written. The moment you stop chasing approval. There was a time when the opinions of others carried enormous weight in your life. You measured your actions through the reactions of people around you. Approval felt like validation. Disapproval felt like failure. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. You began realizing that constantly chasing approval was slowly pulling you away from your true direction. The more you tried to satisfy everyone, the further you drifted from your own clarity. So you began letting go of that need, not out of pride but out of understanding. You realized that no matter what you do, someone will misunderstand you, someone will disagree, someone will criticize. And once you accepted that truth, a powerful freedom entered your life. The awareness that changed your choices. Awareness has a way of reshaping everyday decisions. Things that once seemed harmless began to reveal deeper consequences. Habits that once felt normal started showing their long-term impact. You began asking yourself different questions. Is this helping me grow? Is this draining my energy? Is this leading me closer to the person I want to become? These questions quietly changed the way you move through life. You became more intentional, more mindful of your time, your environment, and the people you allow close to your inner world. And those small shifts slowly began building a stronger future. Why your mind seeks depth instead of noise. The world around you often celebrates noise, endless distractions, constant stimulation, quick entertainment that keeps people occupied but rarely fulfilled. But your mind began craving something deeper. Silence became more valuable than endless conversation. Reflection became more powerful than constant activity. You started realizing that true understanding often appears in stillness. When the noise fades, clarity begins to emerge. When distractions disappear, your mind can finally examine what truly matters. This search for depth is one of the strongest signs that your awareness has expanded beyond surface living. The strength of facing yourself honestly. One of the hardest challenges in life is not confronting the world. It is confronting yourself, looking honestly at your habits, your reactions, your fears, and your mistakes. Many people avoid this process because it is uncomfortable, but you chose a different approach. You allowed yourself to reflect, to examine the parts of your life that needed change. That honesty required courage. It meant accepting responsibility instead of blaming circumstances. It meant improving yourself instead of waiting for the world to adjust. And that level of self-awareness has become one of your greatest strengths. Why you no longer fear being different. At one point, standing apart from the crowd felt uncomfortable. You wondered if being different meant something was wrong with you. But over time, you began to see things more clearly. The crowd is not always moving toward growth. The crowd is not always seeking truth. Often, the crowd simply follows familiarity because it feels safe. Being different no longer feels like a weakness. It feels like clarity. The ability to step back, observe, and choose your own direction rather than blindly following the movement around you. That understanding changed the way you see yourself. The quiet respect you developed for your journey. You may not talk about it often, but deep down you know the journey you have walked was not easy. There were moments when you doubted yourself, moments when you felt misunderstood, moments when it seemed easier to give up and return to comfort. But you continued moving forward, even slowly, even uncertainly. That persistence deserves respect, not from the world but from yourself, because the growth you achieved came through effort, patience, and resilience. And that kind of growth cannot be taken away. Why challenges still appear. Awakening does not eliminate challenges. Life will always present new obstacles and unexpected situations, but the difference now is how you face them. Before, challenges may have felt overwhelming or unfair. Now they feel like opportunities to apply everything you have learned. Each challenge becomes a test of your patience, your discipline, your awareness, your ability to remain grounded when circumstances become uncertain. And every time you face those challenges with clarity, your strength grows even deeper. The power of your influence. You may not realize it, but your growth affects more than just your own life. The way you carry yourself, the way you respond to difficulty, and the way you maintain your values quietly influences the people around you. Some may never say it out loud, but they notice your stability. They notice your perspective. They notice how you remain calm in situations that once would have caused chaos. Your example can inspire others to reflect on their own lives, not through force or pressure, but simply through the quiet strength of your actions. And sometimes, that silent influence is more powerful than words. The path you are walking now, the road ahead will continue unfolding one step at a time. There will be moments of clarity and moments of uncertainty, moments of progress and moments that test your patience. But one thing is certain, you are no longer walking blindly. You are moving forward with awareness, intention, and a deeper understanding of who you are becoming. The journey is still unfolding, the lessons are still appearing, and the strength you continue building will guide you through whatever lies ahead.